What's going on with you? This is your boy Mark, aka Robert James Winterborn, aka Skater Cause, aka Big MC, aka a lot of things. Just didn't haven't gotten much feedback yet on my last video, but I like doing it, so I'm doing another one. The last video, if you didn't peep it, is a review, kind of, and a breakdown of the song "Freedom Form Flowing." And with this video, one of the things I want to kind of do is have like a tie-in to the previous videos. So with this, I wanted to talk about people using different accents or like vocal inflections, and the purpose of it in hip hop. And so I wanted to start out with Afro is one of the people that I spoke about in my previous video, with Freedom Form Flowing with R.A. the Rugged Man and Gifty Gab. So the way I found out about Afro is through a Jedi Mind Trick song, on their album The Thief and the Fallen. And it was the first time I heard him. I realized right away that when I heard it, it was something crazy different, and that this is someone I needed to look into. And also, he does some stuff with his voice that's really cool on it. This song is also with R.A. the Rugged Man, which he's also on the song that I reviewed previously, Freedom Form Flowing. But this one is with Jedi Mind Trick, so it's R.A., Vinny Paz, and then Afro. And I'm actually not going to play the whole song. R.A. and Vinny's parts are absolutely dope on this, so go back and listen to it. But just so I can kind of, for brevity's sake, I'm just going to play certain clips of songs so I can kind of get my point across. So this is the beginning of the song not Freedom Form. It's the beginning of the song. It's called "And God Said to Cain." And so this is Afro's part, the first time I ever heard him. And as you'll hear, he does some crazy things like using accents and just changing his vocal inflection. So let's do a little bit of that.
Don Corleone here to tell you about loyalty, respect, and underground shit. The man that your britches wither and dance, oblivious now, primitive, I'm Olympian. Now it's routed in pistols and louder to buy the hour child imbeciles. Now as a coward out to attend, powerful minutes for the crowd, the men, the rowdy, loudest towers, outward be so out to seek a pound, to reach and reach and demons, wild niggas, and now deep to now, seek the child, teach a mind, preach a means, and leaking rhyme, leaving rhymes leaking by the evening.
Who'd have thought the hammer hit you? The Ruger spark leaving handicapped trapped in wheelchairs. Drop bomb, calm flow, forming on. Important arm, rob mob.
Don Corleone. Take this offer, the vengeance refuse to amend all you're used to. Remember that you're useful.
And the Godfather speaks. Already a Vinny Pass stoop on the beat. Let's go.
Alright, so that was Afro's verse on "And God Said to Cain," on Jedi Mind Trick. And so as you could hear, like, he started out the verse doing like a Don Corleone type voice. He brought it back in throughout the verse. I would actually say too, like, he did kind of like 3 different voices on that, and he did it pretty seamlessly. So in general, I just thought that was cool, and it got me started thinking about it, and how it can be used as a tool in hip hop music to change up, kind of like your accent, your voice, and also inflection. And then I was thinking about other people who do stuff that's similar, and one of the people I thought of who's probably the most well-known rapper that does this, I'd say, is Eminem. He does this thing all the time, which is really cool when you think about it, where he changes the inflection of his voice in order to establish the fact that he's speaking from someone else's perspective. So I'm going to play a clip from the real Slim Shady, and you'll see when he is imitating people talking about him, he changes up the inflection of his voice. And it's just to indicate that it's not from his perspective, it's from someone else's perspective. And again, I think it's a good tool to use because, I mean, what other way can you really do that other than being really, like, spoon feed it and say, he said this. So it's a good way to do it. Let me pull up the clip real quick.
We're gonna have a problem here. Y'all act like
The
you
real
never seen
Slim
a white
Shady.
person before. Jaws all on the floor like Pam, like Tommy just burst in the door and started whooping her ass worse than before. They first were divorced, sewing her over furniture. It's the return of the. Oh wait, no wait, you're kidding. He didn't just say what I think he did he? And Dr. Dre said. Nothing, you idiots. Dr. Dre's dead. He's locked in my basement. Feminist women love Eminem. Chicka, 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 Slim Shady. I'm sick of him. Look at him walking around, grabbing his you know what, flipping the you know who. Yeah, but he's so cute though. Yeah, I probably got a couple of screws up in my head loose, but no worse.
So as you can see there's several different times where he changed the inflection of his voice to indicate that it wasn't coming from his perspective and it was coming from the perspective of the person or the people that he was talking about. I think this is something where when I started to think about it, it really kind of made me have a lot more respect for him in general. Not that I didn't respect him already. I mean, he's definitely one of the dopest ever. But, you know, I think it's something that is a little bit underrated about how he raps. Maybe, you know, I'm off base. Maybe it's something that everyone else notices, but I think it's really cool. So next I'm gonna go to a song from Tech Nine, and this is where he just really kind of changes his voice radically. I'm not sure if there's intention behind it other than to just make the song sound cooler, but I think he achieves that goal if that's his only goal. I don't know if he's trying to do it to change perspective. I don't believe he is. But it's just a cool effect. It's something that I appreciate when people do it, and I think, again, like I'm saying, I'm trying to say this is a really cool tool you can use in your rapping. So let's go to that clip. This is Am I a Psycho?
I like you, but you're crazy. My tours paid me, so I use that note to allure ladies, to manure bathe.
Never that my mind's for sure shady. Pure Hades. Rev Xfinity couldn't endure to save me. Why do I let this stripper burn me on my arm with a cigarette in the same spot 10 times on a row when I feel that burn upon the clitoris? I'ma get her wet. Sorry to get carried away. I feel stupid because I ain't dinner yet. Maybe she never looking to find niggas sweat on her breast. I get that, so I ain't better next. Open. I try to contain it, but that bang thing soaking. Alter ego say why you let them gang bang folk in. Strange lane hoping I can maintain coping, but ain't nobody talking when the insane main
Voice
spoken.
switch.
I like fire on my skin, blood on my drawers, from up on the walls. I'm suffering, I'm stuck in the claws, stuffed in her jaws, huffing and puffing, hollering on my dog. Afterwards, I like really hot, scalding water on my balls.
Am I a psycho?
All right, so with that, you can hear that at the beginning of the track, he has this like different voice where it's, you know, very different than his normal. Well, I don't know if anything you could say about Tech Nine is normal, but his kind of normal voice, it's different. It's like, and then he goes into his normal voice, but then later on in the verse, he reverts back to like kind of the way he was speaking at the beginning of the song. And I think this is just for effect. It might be a perspective switch. I'm not sure. I haven't analyzed it that deeply. But either way, I believe it makes the song better. So, I mean, again, it's another thing. I mean, at the end of the video, I'm going to talk about some people who are a little bit more monotone and are still great, but maybe don't utilize these shifts in voice as much as they should. But I think Tech Nine does a great job of it. So then now what I'm going to do is, so we talked about like Eminem and how he uses the inflection in his voice to kind of signify a change in perspective. But then I like the majority of this video is going to be about this one guy who I really like a lot, who is amazing. His name's Serengeti. I found out about him in college because for a while he was on the same label as a buddy of mine who's also a rapper, Prob Cause. So shout out to Prob Cause, shout out to Serengeti. So he put out this album called Dennehy, and it's a concept album. And you know, he has albums where he just raps, and he's great. He's got really good beat selection. His lyrics are amazing. You know, I wouldn't say he's the best technical lyricist, but he's really great conceptually. Like, that, I think, is his gift. But on this album, Dennehy, he assumes different characters. And with these different characters, he actually raps using, kind of different voices. So I'm going to give you a few examples of these voices, and just kind of show you. And honestly, like, if there's one thing to take away from this video, I mean, everyone that I show you is dope, but if you haven't heard Serengeti, listen to Serengeti and start with Dennehy. So here we're gonna start out. This is like a character that he put together, who's supposed to be kind of like a working class Chicago white guy, and he's one of the characters on the album. So let's just take a listen, and this is the title track off the album, Dennehy.
Goes out to my girl Jules. Favorite actor Dennehy, favorite drink on Doles, Bears, Hawks, Sox, Bulls. Say goodbye a little longer like I ate a piece of Big Red. Grew a mustache the size of Mike Dicker's forehead. Hair comb to the side, looking like a piece of foam. Buick speakers, red cooler, 85 Bear Zubas, Polar sauces, bratwurst. Walking like my cockers, Stacey Adams no shirt. Jules to get a case of squirt. Wife's pissed cause I forgot to get the minute rice. So I'm back in the damn Buick to get a stinking bag of ice. To get a stinking bag of rice. My wife Jules is cute. Her taste really moved me like I ate juicy fruit. Had me dancing like Chris Penn and Footloose. 85 Walter Rules, old style back of cruise. Go to A, snow tolls and weed whacker fuel. 85 Bear Subas, Stacey Adams got ruined. For the basement sump pump, shop vac, clean up, cook brats, cook chops. Your heat shouldn't be that hot. Keep your juices in the chops, keep your juices in the brats. Serve them on paper plates, tater salad and grape pop. My favorite actor was Dennehy long before he played night. When Barringer was a substitute, everything was going right. Even after Jordan left, and Dave Corzine retired. Sean Dunstan's wild throws and Mike Ditka got fired.
Alright, it goes back into the chorus after that, but that's the title track, Dennehy, and like I said, he's got this whole character. He has other albums that are just centered around this character who, his name is Kenny Dennis, and he's like, a working class Chicago guy. So that's one character on the album, right? But then there's also just kind of like Serengeti. He also has tracks where it's just him rapping. In his pretty much normal style. So we're going to listen to a little bit of Ins and Outs, which is one of my favorite tracks on the album. I mean, the whole album is dope. This isn't one of the albums you need to listen to. So let me play a little bit of this. So this is like just, Serengeti.
Need bills, want wheels, check out this wheel deal. It's just the ins and outs, yeah. Need bills. I don't wanna take wine from the restaurant. Drink till I fall asleep. Have sex, watching porn. Eating only candy corn. Ride shotgun in your ride. Gonna get a bag.
Shout out to Candy Corn, Timbo.
Got the rich Jaeger blood. 2 o'clock, the shit is closed. Up to 8, all froze. 4 a.m. the month is closed. Triple Twilight Troll. I don't wanna get another case. I'm broke, what a waste. Can't recognize my face. So my lineage is disgrace. Sitting here the same thing. Every day the same thing. This is how we pretend. We won't ever do this again. Let me be out go to sleep. Smoke squares, juggle keep. Post your leftovers when we only. Yeah.
Alright, so that's Ins and Outs. I mean, that's basically just like what Serengeti sounds like, as Serengeti, not playing another character. And as you can tell, like, his voice is a lot different than when he plays his character Kenny Dennis. So next we're going to go into iPod, which is this other character, which he calls a Nemo, which is a combination of an emo kid who is also a Negro, so he's a Nemo. And again, like, it's just a completely different voice. Not really much to say. I'm going to start a little bit into it just so you can kind of get to the voice part, but take a listen. See the range of what people can do using different voices.
If you are a Negro, then you can't be emo. But if you are a Negro, then you can be emo. Nemo, Negro, IMO, iPod, Garrett, emo, Nemo. This is rated E for emo. This is Seinfeld and BET. But Nemos are uncomfortable anywhere they'll be. Nemo knows some I know, but I don't know shit. Real cool, black guy, two suburban chicks. You are such a rebel if your favorite color's yellow. And you like dark or you own a tea kettle. This is rated where is my iPod? I've left it on the train tracks. Where is my iPod? I must get that thing back. 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 This is rated.
All right, so as you can see, like again, just a completely different voice, completely different character. You know, dude is wild creative, and obviously, like this stuff is a little outside the box. But I love this album, and it's one of those things where it you kind of have to put yourself into the shoes of the characters to really appreciate it. But the more you listen to it, the more you appreciate the different aspects of it. And I mean, some of the songs are just straight up bangers, in my opinion, and some of them are just more like conceptual art, but it's awesome. And again, what I'm trying to talk about here is just using different like vocal styling to try and, you know, change up your music and spread a different type of point of view. So let's go on to one more. There's another character. This character is Derek, and Derek is basically like your trust fund baby, spoiled kid. Very bougie, very into appearances. So let's listen to Derek.
You can see what Derek is like, and you can see that Derek is not like you. You can taste what Derek is like, and you can taste that Derek is not like you. It's not like. It's not like. It's not like. And you can see that Derek is not like you. You're fat. You're a fatty. You're so fat. You're a fatty. You're so fat. It's disgusting. You're so fat. I'm too tired. You're so fat. You're so fat. You're so fat. And you can see that Derek is not like you. You can see what Derek is like, and you can see that Derek is not like you. And you can taste what Derek is like, and you can taste that Derek is not like you. It's not like. It's not like. It's not like. And you can see that Derek is not like you. You always wanted to be friends with the shortstop. I am the shortstop, you can't handle the short hop. I'm Derek, look at my face, look at your face, to look at your girls, to look at my women's faces and habits. Look at your.
Alright, so probably a little weird for a lot of people, but again, it's character development, and you know, I think he's great with his voice work. Most of the song is basically that format, and you know, it's not like necessarily a great act of lyricism, but again, I think the conceptual art on this whole album, and then his ability to inhibit the bodies of different characters and try and come up with unique voices for all of them, kind of illustrates my point. So we're just going to go to one more, which is, I don't know, I don't think this is a character, it's off the same album though, but it's kind of like just Serengeti rapping. I'd say as Serengeti, but like he's just got a different like inflection and like a different attitude, like it's kind of harder. Again, this is also kind of weird, but bear with me.
I curse the lineages of them. I curse the lineages of them. I curse the lineages of them. I curse the lineage. I curse the lineage. I curse the lineages of them. I curse the lineages of them. I curse the lineages of them. I cursed the lineages, I cursed the lineages, I cursed the lineages. Americans are so fat, even the rats and pigeons, weed, sugars and fats. I go to the doctor, say my cold hurts. I saw some medicines on television, I think they helped me. What do you think? I ate a lot of hamburgers and drink, smoking. I don't meditate beneath the waterfalls for dozens of days. Almost like a master chef minus the motherfucking test. I also meditate in guano caves. There's so much ammonia there, the smells on me for days. Samurais got rewards like plots and lands. Slaves got whipped and punched in the face and shit. So pay me, here's my enemy's head. I would like a new pencil and a motherfucking waterbed. When you hit rock bottom, there's new depths. Like looking on the ground, trying to find you cigarettes of them.
Alright, so that was Lineages by Serengeti. So all those songs by Serengeti were off of Dennehy. Serengeti has a ton of albums, all of which should be listened to. You should be listening to them. You know, some of them are just one character, like Kenny Dennis. Some of them are just like him as Serengeti. Dennehy is where I would start. But again, I just think he's a good example of kind of, sorry I'm burping because I'm drinking malt liquor. But yeah, they're just good examples of changing your voice to try and illustrate different points, create different characters, and just trying to use your voice to influence your art. And so lastly, we're going to go to a song, and it's a song I love, and I can't emphasize this enough. The Jizza is one of my favorite MCs of all time. I think he is an amazing lyricist. He's one of the best lyricists ever. If you're talking just pure lyricism, he has to be in the top 5. But one of the things about him, I kind of always use him as an example, that he's someone where he's not exactly monotone, but he's like a little bit more on the monotone side, and he doesn't utilize this technique at all. So I just wanted to play a little bit of one of the songs that I really like by him, but just kind of to contrast and get you thinking about it. So let me play a little bit, and this is 7 Pounds by Jizza off of Pro Tools, and then after that I'll kind of wrap it up, but here we go.
Speaking of this art form, the slang is dangerous. MCs are like sperm cells, a gang of us, fighting to reach the egg, biting and lose a leg. Odds are like 1 in 10 million of thin thread. One from 1,000 speaks in his own voice, the other 999 imitates without choice, and never even knowing it until the going gets rough. See the amplified sample I'm flowing with. I grab the microphone, the unthinkable happens. See the rockets red glare like the guns clapping. They still cage matching MCs scrapping. Not the UFC, but my opponent is tapping. So don't let a little.
Alright, so that's a little bit of it, and honestly, we're going off script right now. You can see, though, like, he doesn't really vary his voice up very much, but he does have a line in there where he says amplified sample, and I also like that song, so let me just see if I can pull that up real quick and play a little bit of that, so you can get another little taste of the Jizza, who again I think is amazing, but you can just see that like he very seldom kind of changes up his voice.
The amplify, sample, or trample, delete and cancel. They vacate your vessel. God this, strenuous as an arm wrestle. Move swift as light. 1,000 years, one night. In flight with insight. Everything I thought of, I saw it happen. Then I rose from the soil, the sun blackened. Then came rap czars, left tracks and stars. Apparent brightness of exploding stars. Gave you goods to taste. No ingredients to trace. You remain stuck trying to figure the shape of space. No edge of boundary, release 2 rounds or 3. Intimidate. My range is straight, phony clown MC. The physical, shatter from the blast. Pyroclastic flow, set forth the tower of ash. Through ignorance and misplaced trust, your world's crushed. Too late to activate hyperspace or thrust. Even wearing camouflage, the analog at war. The seen as high beams and fog that came in, accompanied by deadly rain and wind. Mentally endowed with lightning hit the crowd. The warm side, let you cross the barrier. But the storm side, destroy your area. The amplify, sample, or trample, delete and cancel. The vacate your vessel to guide this. Strenuous is on.
So as you can see, I mean, that's a dope song. Like, both of those songs, I absolutely love them. but he doesn't vary up his vocal delivery, really. It's basically always the same, and that's kind of what the whole video is about. It's not kind of, it is what the video is about. It's about how different MCs can use different tools. I've talked about different tools in different video in the form of video, and switching up your vocal stylization is one of those tools you have at your disposal. So that's going to lead me into the topic for my next video, which you should tune in for, where I'm just going to be talking about delivery and the importance of delivery versus lyricism. So both are really important, but I feel that people can overcome some of their inability maybe with delivery by having dope lyricism, and some people can do the opposite, where they can kind of make up for the lack of lyricism by having dope delivery. And so we're going to delve into that topic. Like I said, we're going to try and link all these videos together. So look for that. We're going to be talking about a lot of really hood ass groups like MOP and stuff, and then comparing them to people who are a little bit more, I guess I'd say, deadpan. But yeah, that's what's up. Like I said, Big MC, Skater Claus, Mark, Robert James, Winterborn. Fuck with your boy. If you like this video, let me know. Let me know if I messed it up. Let me know if I missed something. Let me know if there's something you'd like to add. But peace.